Voros, Vermio, Vernon. These mountainous masses stand imposingly over the landscape at the northwest section of Macedonia. The plateau of Eordaia is formed at their foothills. The plateau, also known as the plateau of Amyndeo, is characterized by the existence of 4 lakes, the remains of the lake Eordaia that in the far past covered the entire area. At the southwest end of the plateau is the small lake Zázari, the main recipient of the streams coming from Vitsi and Sklithro. To its southeast and a few hundred meters away, we encounter Lake Hematitida. The 2 lakes are connected through an artificial channel that routes the surplus waters of Lake Zázari to Lake Hematitida. From there, through the channel and the Aminta stream, the waters reach the lowest point of the plateau and the natural dam formed by the mountains Lilik and Voros. This is how Lake Petron is formed, also known as Lake of Amyndeo. It is east, and at a small distance the 4th lake, Vegoritida, overwhelms the visitor with its size. The coexistence of water and fertile land allowed inhabitation of the area as far back as the Neolithic age, evidence to this being the scattered remains of human activity found particularly at the perimeters of the lakes. At the end of the 19th century, archaeological excavations brought to light traces of a civilization that peaked during the early Iron Age between 1100 and 550 BC, with the excavation of the cemetery located at the narrow strip of land between the 2 lakes west of Agios Panteleimonas. Modern research has brought to light artifacts used in ancient tombs such as jewelry figurines and decorated clay pots. A characteristic example of the ceramics of this age is the 4-spouted vessel found whole and was most likely used in rituals. West of Lake Petron and at Mount Gartista are preserved the remains of a significant Hellenistic city that flourished between the 3rd and the 1st century BC. The city is a characteristic example of a large village of that time in Upper Macedonia with an agricultural and animal breeding economy. The findings of the excavation, agricultural tools, decorated vessels, amphoria, figurines of gods, coins, and other findings substantiate the existence of a high standard of living and developed commercial trade with other areas of the Hellenistic world. Chance findings at the lake perimeter, such as the headless marble statue of Artemis and the bas relief of Athena, prove the existence of other archaeological sites of the Hellenistic and Roman years. More recent digs verify the passage of the Roman via Egnatia at the south bank of lakes Vegoritida and Petron. According to some experts, the remains of a community found at the village Faragi, east of Vegoritida, suggest the site of the ancient city Vokeria. Two other cities, Arnisa and Kela, also flourished during the Hellenistic and Roman eras. However, their exact location in the area has yet to be determined. North of Lake Petron, at the location Kela, there are remains of a wall possibly built during the reign of Eustinianos. These structures within the walls attest to the significance of the fortress, from which even today one can still see the remains of a three-aisled basilica built in the 11th century. Lake Petron covers a surface area of 14 square kilometers and is the recipient of the waters from a greater drainage basin of 114 square kilometers. The surface area of the lake used to be larger and reached up to the last houses of Amυνταίου, whereas it covered the yards of houses at Petron. After the intervention for joining the four lakes of the region at the beginning of the 60s, its level receded and stabilized to current levels. The depth of the lake reaches 4 meters and is supplied by the stream of Αμυνταίου and underground springs. Due to the lake's shallow waters, it frequently freezes over in winter months when the temperature in the area marks a significant drop. It has a large section full of reeds that is the ideal home to many fish, birds, reptiles, and even mammals. Βεγορίτιδα, the lake of Agios Panteleimonas, Lake Ostrovos. These are names by which the largest lake of the hydraulic region of Eordaia is known. It extends at the end of the basin of Ptolemaida and Αμυνταίου at the foothills of the Voros and Vermio mountains. Historical documents attest that its level fluctuated over the passage of time, a fact that is proven by the remains of older civilizations that appear when its waters recede. At one time, the lake covered a surface area of 68 square kilometers. It was the deepest lake of the country with a depth reaching 70 meters. The lake is primarily supplied by the artificial moat that connects it with Lake Petron. The streams Pendavrisos, Farangi, Agios Athanasios, and Panagitsa that constitute the main collectors of rainwater and melting snow, a basin with a total surface area of 1,853 square kilometers. The fluctuation of the lake's waters always fed the imagination of the residents who lived near the lake, which connected it with future disasters. Events such as World War II and the subsequent Civil War that inflicted particular suffering to the area were identified with a statistically higher level of its waters during the 40s and 50s. As we approach the natural environment of the greater area around the lakes, we observe that what characterizes it is its low vegetation, a result of human intervention. Despite the rocky facade of surrounding hills, there are a multitude of plants that are particularly interesting in terms of biological research. The wooded sections are host to cedar trees and Macedonian oak trees, but also species of shrubs such as the European ash, Filaria latifolia, and the wild cherry. The reeds that grow at the lake's perimeters create an excellent biotope, with the growth of underwater vegetative species that are ideal food for fish and birds, as well as for the rare species of mammals that call it home, such as the otter. The role of the reeds is also important as they are a natural cleaning system of the waste oftentimes received by the lake. The abundance of the fish population in the lakes is what connects the lakes with the human resources of the area. Fishing used to be a significant factor for the economic life of the region, and the fish were sold at the markets of the large neighboring cities. In our days, the fish population has marked a significant drop because of the reduction of the water level, overfishing, as well as illegal fishing. Few fishermen are left, mainly in the communities of Arnissa and Agios Penteleimenos, who fish exclusively at Lake Vegorítida. Images of fishermen emptying their nets in the company of Dalmatian pelicans who wait for their reward are familiar even now, albeit quite limited. Of the important species of fish hosted by the lake, there are still large numbers of the common carp, found in all large Greek lakes. Wels catfish exist in moderate quantities, while reported have been cases of catching this type of catfish at Vegorítida that exceed 3 meters in length and weighed 300 kilos. Of the species with the highest number are the common roach, the Prussian carp, and northern pikes, whereas in recent years the European perch has been observed in satisfactory quantities. A fish that is encountered in the deep lakes of Central and North Europe and that has managed to somehow find its way to the waters of Lake Vegorítida. Very rarely, in deep and clear waters, may one catch the common whitefish, a species of freshwater fish of the salmon family, and in Greece is found only in Vegorítida. The fishing is done using the traditional fishing boats called plaves, that are small boats without a keel and move through the use of oars, whereas recently, machine-engine boats have come onto the scene, disturbing the peace of the bird population around the lake. The huge interest of the lake ecosystem of Petron Vegorítida is pinpointed in its rich bird fauna, which is why it has been characterized as an important region for the birds in the European continent and has been included in the Natura 2000 list of protected areas. The reasons that constitute the specific characterization are the wetlands at the perimeter of Lake Patron, where many species gather, especially in summer months, the rocky areas at the lake's perimeter, where predatory birds find refuge and food, but also the size of Lake Vegoritida that hosts the bird population in the winter when other lakes freeze over. Finally, a particularly important factor is the nesting of rare and endangered species in the reeds of both lakes. Ornithologists have recorded 162 species, of which 87 nest at the two lakes. The pygmy cormorant is a member of the cormorant family of seabirds that reproduces at Lake Patron, feeds at the surrounding lakes, whereas it is also encountered at the rocky shores or shallow waters of Vegoritida. The Dalmatian pelicans are present almost throughout the entire year, impressing one with their size, while they are the only birds one may approach at a short distance. During migration periods, beeves of great white pelicans can be seen flying over the lake. At the shallow parts and near the reeds, one can see gray herons and little egrets, species of herons that feed on small fish. The largest populations that are observed, however, are certain species of ducks, like the mallard with its wonderful colors, the common pochard, and the Eurasian coot that exceeded 10,000 individuals. The rocky and inaccessible areas, primarily at the west side of Lake Vegoritida, is where small numbers of the golden eagle come to nest, few pairs of the long-legged buzzard, and the lanner falcon, while the small port of Aios Panteleimonas provides refuge for sand martins. The great crested crab, a member of the crab family of water birds with impressive head plums and colors, spends the coldest months of February to March at the leeward side of the two lakes. The problems of the two lakes begin with a drop in their water level and the irresponsible human intervention. Specifically for Vegoritida, the Public Power Corporation is mainly to blame for the current situation. At the beginning, by directly taking large quantities of water from the tunnel of Agras, large quantities were lost through its pump station located in Aios Panteleimonas. This pumping of water has now stopped. However, the pumping of large quantities of underground water continues, drawing on the water reserves of both lakes. The intensification of agricultural developments, in turn, affects the underground water reserves through overpumping of underground waters and many times with the pumping of water directly from the lakes. A change in the irrigation methods or even the replacement of water-intensive crops with subsidized low water use crops could help in solving the problem. The orientation of agricultural production toward organic crops could bring about a clear reduction of pesticides used, as they are the main polluting factor of the lakes. One of the basic reasons for the pollution is the waste of industries and the urban waste of communities around the lakes. The operation of the Amyndeo biological waste treatment plant, where the waste from the communities of Patron and Xinonero are channeled, as well as the Aios Panteleimonas biological waste treatment plant, has greatly contributed to the solution of the problem. The creation of zones of natural beauty, as well as the raising of consciousness of the residents, would lead to solving problems such as pollution and the irresponsible expansion of agricultural land to the lake's receding areas. The orientation of economic life towards tourism and the development of infrastructures that lead to the development of the lakes are in the final stretch. Bird-watching towers at Vegorítida and Lake Petron and are already in operation, ready and waiting for nature lovers and people who enjoy the sport. The development of the environmental route of the municipality of Amındao that will connect the main observation points with recreational areas, archaeological sites and museums will soon be implemented. The Information Center on the Eco-Cultural Heritage of the area of Petron-Vegorítida Lakes is already operating at the windmill of Agios Panteleimonas, the oldest building of the region, built in the 18th century during the period of the Ottoman occupation. Visitors may obtain information on the tourist facilities of the area through other information centers such as the Vitsi Ecotourism Society, where information can be found on the local products, the residents' way of life, their customs and festivals, while the wineries of the Amındao vineyards can introduce visitors to the magical world of the region's main product, wine. Ecosystem of Lake Petron and Lake Vegorítida. A heavenly place. Harmony of nature, history, life. A divine brushstroke in the border landscape.